Hey everybody, Dave here. Today, I'm going to show you in Blue Prism how to deal with the problem of it telling you that you can't delete a process or an object because it's required for audit. A little disclaimer though, you typically shouldn't delete things in Blue Prism. That could be session logs or processes, objects, work queue items. Let's say you just created a process or an object. We're going to do both. And you just do a quick run, just a test of something that's benign and insignificant, and you just want to delete those things. You should be able to. So I'm going to show you how to do that. So let's go ahead and create a process. I'm going to name this delete process test. And then I'm going to just connect the start to the end. What I want you to take note of is that the stage logging is set to enabled for the start stage and the end stage as well. And it just is like that by default in processes. And I'm going to hit F11 a couple times just to make it run. And then I'm going to close this. I'm not even going to save it. Same thing for the object. I'm going to go delete object test. And in here, in the object, I'm going to go over to action 1. I'm going to open up the start stage and change the stage logging to enabled. Click OK. I'm just going to connect this, and then I'm going to hit F11 a couple of times. Then I'm going to close this. I'm not going to save it. And then I'm going to just go try to delete the process. And it says an error occurred while deleting the process. Could not delete the process. This process has been run before and is required for audit. Now let's go ahead and reproduce this for the object. Delete object, test, delete. An error occurred while deleting the process. As far as the database is concerned, processes and objects are the same thing. That's why it says that. Could not delete the business object. The business object has been run before and is required for audit. The reason it says this is that there are sessions that have been created because stage logging was turned on in both the process and in the object. It could just take one stage. All it takes is just one stage that is set to logging enabled, which is sometimes a good thing. But because that session got created and saved in the Blue Prism database, now it's saying you can't delete the process or the object because we've got session logs tied to it. So we've got to take care of those session logs in order to delete this process or an object. So let's go over to the System tab. And the easiest way to handle this is to go down to System and Archiving. Now, this is not an archiving tutorial, so there's more involved than what I'm about to tell you. Like, you need to deal with where you're going to archive the data and stuff. But in this case, I'm going to assume you don't care about that and you just want to get rid of this. But let me just suggest you find a central location to archive to so other people have access to it. So I'm going to go over here onto the right side, this database data, and I'm going to find the specific sessions that were created whenever I ran that stuff. I should mention you can also see this up here in process logs. So delete process test. You can even say it says status debugging. That means I got the session by doing a debug run. Same thing for object logs, delete object test, and it was a status of debugging. I'm going to go back over to archiving. And in your case, your process or object may have existed for longer than just today. So if it's more than like the last week or whatever, change the date range here to search farther in the past. I think older versions of Blue Prism may look different here, so you may have a bit more struggle. But the goal is you want to navigate down in here and find the specific offending sessions. So you can go all the way down to the bottom and you can see a session ran at 11:24 p.m. today for me. And I'm going to delete specifically the object first, just to show you that. I'm actually going to delete it and show you that it's gone completely. It says once they're deleted, it cannot be restored. I'm going to click OK. And then archive operation complete, even though it really deleted it. Then for the process, I'm going to show you archiving it. So I'm going to select the process, which selects everything underneath it. In this case, it's selecting everything because there's just nothing else in this date range for me in this test environment that I'm using. And I'm going to click archive. And again, I'm just archiving to wherever it defaulted to, but typically you want to pick a place. Okay, so I have archived, let's see, did I archive the process or the object? So I archived the process and I deleted the object. I want to show you that both of these will technically take care of the issue. Let's go back over to the Studio tab and I'm going to right click and delete. I'm going to give it a reason, delete, and now it's gone. Right click on the object, delete, give it a reason. Probably should normally give it a better reason than that, and click delete. And now it's gone. So that solves your problem. I do want to point out one thing before I show you the better way I think you should have handled that. Let's go over to the audit log and show you that, let's see, for me, this is August 21st. I'm going to scroll down to the bottom of the audit log, and I want to show you that, if somebody did this, that activity does get logged to the audit log. So it says deleted process and deleted business object with a name of it. And it says specifically what user did that and what time. So at least that information will still be there no matter what you do. And you can't get rid of this without deleting rows directly from the database. There's not a user interface way to get rid of that. And that makes sense. It's an audit log. So let me show you what you should probably do instead, though. I think it's best to not delete things in Blue Prism. It just in general, it's a good idea. And the primary reason for that is audit. So if somebody ever says, well, what did you do on that day? Or, how did you handle this? Or, what happened to this thing? If you delete stuff, sometimes you can remove your ability to defend yourself, or even just to, absolve someone of a potentially a crime. And in that case, the flip side, if you wanted to prove somebody was doing something they shouldn't have, deleting stuff is just going to remove evidence, and it just looks bad in general. So there's a lot of reasons why you might want to keep different things, but I personally think the most important and can stand by itself is audit. So I'm going to create that process again. In this case, I'm not actually even going to worry about running it. Oh, I already have that. So I just want to create something random. Okay. And then the process as well, just want to create something random. I'm not actually going to run these. I want to go over to the system tab, and we're going to retire this process and this object instead of deleting it. Now, this does not help you delete it. Okay. The other one actually helped you delete those things, right? But what I'm suggesting here is instead of deleting, you should actually just retire. And I think it will work just as well. So you go over to processes and management. If you're trying to retire a process, go over to your process specifically. You're going to left click on it and drag and drop it into the retired processes list. And now it's gone effectively. Go over to objects and down to management. And then you can drag your object over and retire it as well. So if you go over to the Studio tab, you can search for delete. Oh, that's not true. I didn't name those delete, did I? Okay, we'll go over to the specific folder. So in this group, delete test is where I created that process, and then in delete test is where I created the object. You will technically see those come up at different points. For example, if you check for dependencies or object or process references, there are times where those retired components will show up again in some kind of list. For example, like if I go over here and right click on this and do find references, if one of those retired processes was referencing this Facebook object, then it would show up in this list. So just because it's retired doesn't mean it comes out of this list. So just wanted to point out there are times it will pop back up. For the most part, you can just ignore anything that's in that list. And I personally have retired potentially thousands of objects in my last 7 or 8 years. So I'm quite confident in the functionality that it doesn't typically negatively impact a Blue Prism environment. Now, if you get into the millions, all bets are off. I have no idea what it will do then. Okay, so maybe at that point you want to start deleting things. But I just want to encourage you to try to retire objects and processes first. And then if not that, then go to the archiving and archive the sessions that those processes or objects were run under. Once you archive it, then you can go delete the process or object. And in the last case, a last ditch effort, for whatever reason, I guess you can delete things. But again, you should be careful about why you're doing that and be sure that you're not violating any kind of auditing rule or anything like that. So make sure nobody would be upset by you deleting that thing. I hope this has been helpful. Thanks so much for watching. I'll see you in the next video.